I like what you're doing. I do. All I'm suggesting is that maybe he's not so good at it. He's not so capable of having a civilized conversation right now. That he's trying to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's beyond belief what you're hearing. You know, so when you say that line, this baby's going to have a heart transplant, and this is our family, that it's almost like you're trying to push down this force that's 10 times stronger than you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're trying really hard, but I'm saying right now, perhaps you're very good at it. And I'm suggesting that maybe he's not so good at it. That don't be afraid to make it more raw and dangerous and unexpected and unpredictable, because you know, given the circumstances that you're in, you don't even know which way is up or down at this point. Does that make sense? Yeah? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think on your end, I would say, and again, the scene is better. I like where it's going from both of you. I really do. I mean, I think the scene is good. I would suggest to you that almost the same exact note that I'm giving to Gabriel, but for a completely different reason. That it's not so much having much to do with your husband. It's having to do with dealing and coping with this situation you're in, and I can't handle it. So you got to be careful, because I mean there's a couple of ways you could play this. Like I would be careful of playing her too sort of calculating and sort of calm, because then you run the risk of coming off as a psychopath, and I don't think she is. I mean, you could be somebody who is in shock, who's somebody who's in hysteria and just not thinking right. You know, I mean, it feels to me that, I mean, is the audience, I think the question is the audience what is the audience rooting for? You know, we have to figure that out in a scene, and we have remember who or what is the protagonist of a scene. It's what is the audience hoping is going to happen. So what are we rooting for, Jessica, in the scene?
Her to get on, understand what he's saying.
Okay, so you think the audience is rooting for you to have the transplant, the two of you? Yeah? So do you think that the audience is rooting for the baby to have the transplant and for you two to get divorced? No. If you play it wrong, they will. So what I'm suggesting is you have to play this in a way that the audience can forgive you, because it's just too much information. I don't know how to deal with this. So that when you say that line, I'm just trying to talk with you. A lot more rattled, a lot more uncomfortable, and there's this other great principle, which is that we don't want to recover in the scene. Meaning, once the scene starts sort of building up this is, I think, supposed to be a heated war. I mean, if you want to make the scene dangerous, it should be that this has a much more explosive tension here, where the two of you are flipping out on each other. I think the fun of the scene on your end is that you're going to be this guy who's trying to sort of push it down and keep it cool and keep it calm. He's not very good at it. But I think, Jessica, on your end, who would you say is the more emotional between the two of you? So what I'm suggesting is that it's you. So, in other words, if it's you, then we can forgive you, probably, for making the choices that you're making. Because she's not thinking right. Do you understand why?
Yeah.
Why?
So she's just erratic and out of her mind.
Out of her mind. And right? I mean, and if she's out of her mind, it's for good reason. You know, she's been hoping and desperately hoping for a transplant, and now she's found out we'll have the transplant, but only till 14 years old? Are you fucking kidding me? I can't even imagine what she would be going through. Like this, I can't handle it anymore. And I need to see somebody who's like that, amped, like frantic. And you're trying to sort of calm this storm.